distanced myself from several members of my family, and it's not that I'm being walled off, it's not that I'm being retaliatory or giving people the silent treatment. Here's what I really believe. It is not my responsibility to be in relationship with dysfunctional people who don't want to look at themselves. There is access all over the internet on people you can work with. You can go to therapy, you can go to Landmark, you can do all kinds of stuff. There is no excuse for anyone to go through life hurting other people or being in relationships that aren't healthy. There is no excuse because there is so much information now on what we can do to heal ourselves. I have a situation with a family member, namely my sister, and I mean, I like her and everything. She's super fun. She has a lot of great qualities, but she also has a lot of negative qualities. I will say dysfunctional qualities because she has never gone to therapy. Same with my brother. He has never gone to therapy. According to them, all the problems are either the other person or they will use control and manipulation to get you back, to like them. Control and manipulation, love bombing tactics to get you back. But you know what? It's not my responsibility to comfort people who are dysfunctional, to hold space for you because you're family. There is no excuse for me to bear the brunt of your dysfunction. That's what I want to make this video, because I've been talking to a mutual friend of my sister's and mine, and as I was emailing to him, I kind of had that insight, like, it is not my responsibility to make up for your dysfunction. Being in a healthy relationship is like super fun, it's just enjoyable. But even then, there are going to be times I get triggered, and that's already hard enough. Why do I want to be in a relationship with someone who's dysfunctional, and now I have to compensate for their dysfunction by being understanding, by being accommodating, by not minding, by overlooking, by being giving, by compromising, by trying to change someone. This is kind of a rant, and me, Sharzad, waking up rant. I spent years of my marriage trying to be okay with, the lack of intimacy from my husband. He was a pretty great guy. In his intimacy score is a 0. From a 0 to 10, it's a 0, okay? Due to some walled off stuff. But I spent years trying to be okay with it, made my own life. But then later on, I was just very hurt, but I kept trying to change him. Okay, let's just fast forward to the time I was trying to change him. If I could just get him to open emotionally, just a little bit. If I could just get him to see sex as not a physical thing where he just uses me to get off, but to bring some love and emotion and tenderness into it, that's really what I want. I want him to care about my pleasure, but he couldn't. This isn't about him. This is about me trying to change him. If I could just say the right thing, if I could just understand it, if I could just figure out how to be okay with being so neglected emotionally and sexually in that relationship. If I could just be okay with it. And then later on, I hooked up with these young guys that blew me off. If I could just be okay with guys who blow me off, maybe I should date a military guy who's gone a lot, because I need to be okay with a lack of love. I really thought that. I had to be okay with the lack of love. I had to learn to have love and not have love, and be okay with it. I had to learn to live in a lack. I wanted to learn how to live in lack. Is that sick or what? And then later on, and that comes from my mom always trying to change people. Like, I'm just so seeing now that so much of what I was trying to do was just me modeling what I saw growing up and thinking that was normal. But these patterns are like, caused me so much pain. Then, trying to change, even, when I talk to people, they're telling me they feel a certain way. I try to change how they feel. Oh, it's okay. Try to make you feel better. I'm taking this couples therapy course, and it's like so woken me up and giving me these great breakthroughs on my own behavior, where I was having unbridled self-expression, like just telling people what I thought. At times I do that, but mostly like trying to change people, which is a form of control, and it's not, it never works. First of all, people don't want to be changed, and it never works. And it's really coming from a place of, it's not, it's not, it's not healthy, okay? It's dysfunctional. Trying to change people is dysfunctional. So all I can really say is, hey, you know what? This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I would prefer. And if the person I'm talking to doesn't care, goodbye. If you don't care how I feel and that I'm upset, goodbye. However, in the relationship with my sister and brother, it was more challenging because they do care how I feel. So they would use manipulation tactics to try to get me back. And so it was really hard to see. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll do better next time. They do better ones. And then because we were bonded as a family and they would call me or whatever, but I was always the one being there for them. But anyway, I see a lot of dysfunction. What I want to say is, in these particular instances, when I see that somebody is so reactive and doesn't want to change anything, and I see the dysfunction, that now I'm supposed to accept an apology and talk about boundaries and try to work on the relationship. I don't want to work. There's no way. There is no way to work on a relationship with someone who has some aggression issues, walled off, grandiosity, and has never gone to therapy. There's no way I can move a relationship forward with someone who has that many issues. I'm not that powerful. I can't change you. I've given you advice for years. You don't take it. No, I am not a stand-in for a therapist. And as friends and as spouses and as lovers, we're not supposed to be therapists. We are not. We're not effective. It kind of reminds me of when I was teaching my kids piano when they were little, and they would get so upset. If I would just correct their finger movements, they would get so upset. But I was teaching their little friends, and it went really well, and I was very puzzled by it. And well, why do these neighbor kids and your friends' kids like me as a piano teacher, but you get so hurt? Because I'm their mom. I'm not supposed to correct them and teach them. So I finally enrolled them in lessons. That went so much better. We should outsource our counseling. This is my other takeaway. Don't try to change your partner, your spouse, by being their coach or being their therapist or being their counselor. Don't do it. They're not going to like it. It's going to feel controlling. You have an agenda. I mean, the ideal therapist is very detached. You have to be detached. If you really want to help someone, and this is what I do when I'm in my coaching sessions with people, I'm completely detached. I don't care what you do. Ideally, this is where I'm still trying to get there. But I don't care what you do. It's up to you. And that gives people the space because they don't have to fight me off. So they're relaxed and they can really look at their stuff, all right, and see it. Whereas if I have an agenda and I push, they're going to resist, and then they're going to be so busy resisting me, they can't see any of their own stuff. So as an example, often I'll make a comment to someone and they don't say anything, and that's the best thing. Because when they don't say anything, that silence, that pause, that gives me space to really integrate and see something. Like a few months back at dinner, I told these people, I still have resentments against my ex-husband. They didn't say anything. And that silence opened this transformation. I stopped being resentful with him. I've had instances like that so many times. Therefore, I'm saying that you trying to change your partner to try to teach them to be kinder, gentler, more open, you trying to change them is just going to put up resistance and it's going to ruin your relationship. What you can do is say, hey, I remember when we were closer and having fun. I kind of miss those days. Do you miss that too? Do you miss that as much as I do? Or, I'm really curious how you're feeling. And I really would love for you to be interested in how I'm feeling. Or, I really miss how we used to be so close. I'd like to spend more time together. I'd like to, or it feels really good to me when we're connected. Use some kind of a connection vulnerability statement, but to say, or even if you're done with the relationship, is, I'm just not happy in this relationship anymore. I don't feel like I'm getting my needs met. I feel like I don't feel important. And I would like to go to some counseling. Now, if this person that you're with, whether it's your sister, your brother, your child, your lover, if this person really wants you, they'll go to the counseling. But the question often is, do they want, is now, you can't take it personally, you guys, on this part. You cannot take this personally because people have discarded me because they didn't want to look at themselves. My ex-husband discarded me because he didn't want to look at himself. But he didn't discard me, really. For some people, looking at themselves, okay, losing you is they don't want. Like, okay, when I left my ex-husband, he was sad and depressed. He cried. I thought he was going to die for months. He couldn't sleep. But that pain that he went through, or what he thought he would go through, was more bearable than what the pain he thought he would have to endure by looking at himself and his walled off emotions. So you have to remember, people don't want pain. It's only if when they're in extreme pain, then they go, God, and I've done this too, and this is like a really good place to be. You can do this right now. I really believe in this. God, the universe, whatever. God, I am in so much pain right now. Show me something. You got to be willing. You got to be totally fucking willing. Show me something, God. Or I'm in service of you, God. You have to be so willing. You have to be in enough pain or enough openness that you're totally willing. Okay, so there's an openness. But for a lot of people, that openness is too scary. It's too scary. So they're holding on tightly to what they know. The pain of being alone might be bad, but it's better than the pain of looking at my wounds that I've been covering up with all my might since I'm 3 years old, when my parents, when I thought my parents didn't love me and I had to build this protective wall around me. So you cannot take it personally. However, you're not obligated to be in relationships with people who've built protective walls and really dysfunctional coping strategies. Even if they're in your family, like, there's no reason for it because there is help available everywhere. And yes, I've been told they're bad therapists. Keep trying. Find a new one. Try a different one. Read a different book. Try a meditation. Try an exercise program. What I want to tell you is there is a way out through emotional pain and programming. And I found my way out through doing, like different things. Like how to be with emotions is really powerful. So those are the somatic exercises. You can read about those, or I can make some videos about those. Why don't I'll make some videos about the somatic exercises. And then also to see your mind patterns and notice, you have to be willing to see where you're just copying your parents. The things that are causing you pain, like whenever I was like, oh, what is wrong with me? Why do I cry over these men? This makes no sense. I don't even want to date them. I don't even want a relationship. Why am I crying over this guy? It was my programming, thinking I needed a man, just copying my mom because I loved and adored my mom and I didn't even know it. So making the implicit explicit. You can do that yourself, or you can get like a good therapist or a good coach who can help you or start pointing you in some directions. But you don't have to put up with people's dysfunction. Now we all have some amount of dysfunction. I mean, reactivity or whatever, but I want to say that the more people have been traumatized as children, the higher is their dysfunction because they had to build more protective walls, right? More adaptations to their childhood home. But therapy can change all that. Like, some of the most beautiful people had dysfunctional childhoods, and through therapy, they've changed. Yes, there are bad therapists, but they're also bad trainers. There are also bad food delivery companies. I've had so many bad ones. Now I have 2 I really like. They're really bad escorts. They're really good escorts. Keep looking. You do not have to put up with dysfunction, and you don't have to leave your dysfunctional partner. You just invite them on a new journey to heal their dysfunction. And this is all it is. As children, we're wounded. Okay, we're very sensitive. We're wounded. We cry. Our mom picks us up and feeds us, or maybe not. Maybe mom's nowhere to be found because she's out shooting heroin. Now you feel abandoned. You're going to have huge major issues. Or your parent dies. You have an alcoholic household. You were abused. Those are major traumas. But even people like me who didn't have any of that, we still have some kind of abandonment or modeling or unhealthy parent stuff. So what we do, we either model our parents or we build adaptations to deal in that household. Like, oh, my parents ignore me. Well, I'm going to wall off my feelings. I don't care. I'm not going to care. Or my parents ignore me. I'm going to start being a people pleaser so I can get their attention. Or I'm going to be the class clown or the troublemaker to get their attention, because bad attention is better than no attention. So you give meanings to things, you build coping strategies, and then these coping strategies work really good in your dysfunctional house where you're a helpless child, but they are of no use to build intimacy and to be in healthy adult relationships. The problem is they're not teaching us the stuff in school. Ideally, they would. So now that you're an adult, you get to go out and see where your life isn't working, because life holds up a mirror to your dysfunctions. Also, you might want to check out Carl Jung. He's pretty good on all this. Your shadow. Start embracing your shadow. Instead of hating the part of yourself that's selfish, just start loving it so it's no longer behind the scenes pushing you in bad directions. That's another way to really release a lot, is to look at the parts of yourself that you hate, that you've disowned. The part of yourself that likes to see people suffer. The part of yourself, that's why people stop and look at the car wrecks. Just love that part of yourself for being curious and just release it. You don't have to keep carrying around all this baggage. The part of you that's envious or greedy or gluttonous or selfish. You just got to love all those human parts because they're there instead of pushing them away. Same with your emotions. Feel them in your body so all the stuff can be let go. And there's enough information out there. But anyway, as adults, we have to build intimacy. And where do we learn how to do that? And that's why I really like that work by Terrence Real, because the first part is about holding up a mirror to your pattern, your relationship pattern as a couple. The second part is the inner child trauma work. And the third part is teaching relational skills. And I really do think we do prosper and grow most in relationship. I wish I had a relationship I could practice on, and maybe God will send me one. But nonetheless, you don't have to get rid of people that you're unhappy with. Just invite them into a personal journey of transformation. Find some good therapists and take good care of your health and your fitness as much as you can. Make your life so you're happy with your life. And so you can be a joy to be with. And, but I'm not going to be patient, giving, understanding, or available to people who just want to call me when they're bored and driving, who don't care how I'm doing, who use me, and who constantly talk about their problems and how everything is everybody else's fault. Like, I just don't want that. And I don't have to do that just because you're my family member or just because we've been married 20 years. You never let me initiate sex. You use me as an ejaculation device. Okay, fine. You can use women as an ejaculation device. Goodbye. Find another woman. Okay, I'm not down for that. Well, first, it didn't go like that. I was like, honey, I'd like this, I'd like that. I don't want to go into all that. The point is, you ask for what you want nicely, not like, you never give me what I want. No, don't do that. Okay, you got to practice your own intimacy skills and invite somebody else into it. Honey, I think there's more possible with our relationship. I would love to explore that. How do you feel about that? Let's go see some therapists. Let's read some books together and talk about it. Or I have a friend who's taking a parenting video course with her husband because they have a little child. And as they're going through all the parenting stuff, and for their child, they're talking about how they were parented and the impact that had on them now. Those are really good conversations. Reading a book about that and then saying, how is this impacting us? How do I do that? Even read that book, a relationship book by Harville Hendrix or Terrence Real. Talk about it together. Get some conversations going. But I tell you, sometimes you're in a relationship with nice, charming people who don't want to look at any of that stuff. They're not interested in those books. They want you to read those books, but they don't want to read those books. They don't want to go to therapy. And basically, I just don't have any more patience for those people because they don't want to change. There are some people who get off on looking at themselves and changing, maybe just a little bit, maybe a lot, There's some people who just don't want to do it. I don't want to climb Mount Everest. I don't want to jump out of an airplane. And, my sister doesn't want to look at herself. I don't want to jump out of an airplane. I don't want to live in I don't want to live in some foreign country. My brother's fine with living in a foreign country. He's very adventurous, but he doesn't want to look at himself. Okay. So we all have different areas in our life where we have courage. But for me, I would rather travel inside myself through my meditation, through my personal development stuff, than travel all over the world. This is where the real journey and adventure is to me. And also, I'm a homebody. I love, 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 love being home. I love being home. Like, this is my sanctuary. This is my beautiful, beautiful, safe space, my home. I mean, I did a thing when my coach had me do this inner child exercise. She wanted me to go to a safe, happy place, like somewhere out in nature or something. And I was puzzled. I'm like, well, I feel happy right here in my home. Can I just be right here? Do I have to go to an imaginary forest? Like, this is my safe space. And she goes, oh yeah, you can. So I don't even know why these inner child people want us to go to some safe place. Like, isn't your home your safe place? It is for me. And it's supposed to be. If your home is a place where you have strife, where you have arguments, where you have drama, I'm sorry. Like, I always had a rule with my kids that our home, we don't argue at home. We don't fight with each other. That's like, this is a home. Like, this is our home. It's a loving, safe space. And that's why even when I go no contact with my family, my kids are just like, I'm not going to go no contact. Like, my kids are just shocked by anyone going no contact. Like, they've never heard of that because they love their family. They've never seen it. And then also, I think that a lot of younger people don't go no contact because they're still like believing this thing of family is everything. We love family. But here's another thing, and then I'll wrap this up. Your family is not entitled to be a piece of shit, use you, complain, blame, and control you just because they're family. We're family, so you got to put up with my bullshit. It's not fair. Because they're family, I think they should be held to a higher standard. You're family. I live with you. We're related. We have to treat each other with the most regard, with the most love, with the most functional ability. And if you don't want to do that, yes, we're still related, but we can't be in relationship anymore. Living in my household or being a family member does not mean you're entitled to dump all over me. What kind of fucked up narrative is that? So, fortunately for me, I had 25 years of living in a pretty functional family with my husband and our 3 children. And that forced me a lot to think about family life and to think about other people and to have like a very stable life, which I'm grateful for, as opposed to people whose relationships are constantly changing and who are moving a lot. And, I like that stability. Like, even my apartment where I'm an escort, I've lived here over 8 years. I've lived in this apartment since May of 2013. I've lived here. Like, why do I want to move? When I was married, I wanted to move a lot because I needed change, but I think I was so unhappy in that relationship. I'm happy here. I am happy. And if you want to know being single is happy, just look at me. But it works for me because it just does. It might not work for you. Don't copy me, but I'm just saying you do not have, you have the right to be in a relationship with other people. If you haven't done any work on yourself, then your problems that you're having are probably a lot you. I don't know. You could be half the problem or most of the problem. I don't know. But if you've done work on yourself and you like to look at your part, and you're as a person who's like, what's my part in this? And you're with someone who always thinks everything is your fault, you don't have to put up with that. No. I don't think so. There is so much information out there on the internet now, on Instagram and YouTube. There's so many books. There's so much free information on how you can improve your life. There is no excuse anymore for people to be asleep and to treat you badly. No excuses. You can invite them on a journey, and I bet you most of them will not want to take the ride. So they don't want to take the ride. That's fine. I'm moving. So, people are like, how do you make your videos? I'm like, okay, I sat down with an idea and look, it's been 25 minutes. I just did it. And then just one more thing. I watched this lady, the crappy fairy, the crappy childhood fairy. She's so good. I just adore. She's also a TM meditator. She's so good. She's so loving, so sweet. She's got like 35,000 subscribers to her channel. And her videos are so professionally done, and she has courses, and she's so well prepared. I heard her say on one video she spent 6 to 8 hours making a video, and her videos are good. And she has clients, you know. I hardly ever get coaching clients. And I think at some point I'm going to have to be like her, or like Lisa Romano, who I really like, or Melanie Tanya Evans, another coach I really like. I listen to their videos, and it's all professional. They have a good background. They prepare for their talks, and they're not talking about themselves. They're talking about giving you advice and tips and coursework and helping you understand things. And my videos aren't like that. And I'm wondering, and feel free to leave your comments, you know, at some point as I start to want to make money from coaching people, individuals or couples, if I'm going to have to change my YouTube somehow to invite people to work with me. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be like, oh, come work with me. I don't want this channel to be like a salesy thing. I don't think any of those ladies are being salesy, by the way. But their content would be so hard for me to recreate. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this for me is easy. Maybe those ladies would say that wouldn't be easy for them. Maybe it would be easy for them. I really don't know. Some people are like, how can you talk so freely about yourself? See, that's easy for me. So maybe I should just keep doing what's easy for me, and then at the end I could just say, hey, you want to work with me, contact me for coaching. So let me do that now. If you want to work with me, contact me for coaching. My link to my website is going to be in the description below, and then you can just email me and we can set up a coaching appointment if you want to work with me. And if you don't, that's fine. Just keep watching my videos.